everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list is the top 10 notes that I pulled out from my recent currency collection purchase. There was a lot of different notes in there, and I figured, well, what are some of my top 10 favorites that are in there? So let's go through some of those. Now, once again, this was a collection that I bought out from Ryan from Ryan's Currency Collection. And thank you once again, Ryan, for that. I am going to be putting up quite a few of these up in my upcoming auctions. And you may even see one or two of these on eBay. But a lot of these are actually going straight into my collection. They're going to upgrade notes that I have. And so that's a whole nother video, which notes I'm going to upgrade. Anyway, you saw a bunch of notes all at once. This is going to be my way of breaking down some of those notes by category. These, like I said, are top 10 notes that I found the most interesting from that particular collection. All right, number 10 this week. This is a true binary. It's all ones and zeros. A true binary, that comes from the computer code. Computer code was originally all ones and zeros, known as binary code. So people would look for binaries, as in notes that had a serial number with only 2 digits, those 2 digits needing to be zeros and ones. That is a true binary. Most people are pretty happy finding a binary, which would just be any 2 digits. But in this collection, he had a true binary 00111110, but it's a star. That's what makes this so cool. The fact that he has a true binary star in this collection. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a keeper for me. Taking a look at the back, to me it looks like this was definitely found in circulation. What an amazing circulation pull. That's number 10 this week. The true binary star note. Number 9. He's got this graded note here. This is a 2003 $2 Federal Reserve note. If you look at the serial number, it looks pretty low, 00004475. Well, there's a reason why it's that low. This particular series, the 2003 series of notes, not the 2003A, mind you. Even though this is a 2003A, we're talking about it's just a 2003. It doesn't have the A underneath here. The 2003 Federal Reserve $2 notes, the stars, they only made 16,000 of each of these. So this is a 1 in 16,000 note. That's ridiculously rare. If it was a coin that was 1 in 16,000, you would understand the rarity of that. But this is a note that's 1 of 16,000, and it's graded 65, gem uncirculated. It got the EPQ designation. Take a look at the back here. Exceptional paper quality on this, of course. So the note itself is beautiful. Being a 1 of 16,000 is an amazing find. Most people would look at this note and just walk right by it and not realize anything special about it until you actually look it up. But yeah, that 2003 Star Series, those notes, all of them except one letter. I think it was H. Maybe it was the I series. They made a bunch of one particular Federal Reserve and used those for all of them. And then these were just special issue, I guess you could say. They were put out for collectors, and only 16,000 of each were out there. So that is number 9. Number 8. Another high-graded note. This one has 7 sevens. 7 of a kind, 7 sevens. That alone is pretty cool. And the final digit is a 1, which, if you're not looking, looks like a 7 at a glance. So yeah, that's pretty amazing, finding 7 in a row with the 1. Of course, having a pure solid would be incredible. But this particular note, graded even higher, 66 gem uncirculated EPQ. Anything that's 65 and over is a great catch. To find a modern note, I say modern, 1999, over 20 years old, so that's not really that new anymore. But to find a note in this good a shape and to have it graded like this because of the serial number, that's pretty cool. I don't know that I would have got it graded because that takes away most of your profit. Grading notes, I've never sent in modern notes to be graded, but I'd have to assume that they're in the $20 to $40 grading range. So then you have to consider what you paid for the note, how high you think it's going to grade to see if it's worth actually getting graded. But anyway, this one, 7 sevens, that's pretty cool. That is number 8. And yes, I know I should have had that as number 7, but whatever. Number 7, here is the 1907 wood chopper. Now, this particular wood chopper, yeah, it's got a mark here. It's got a pretty heavy fold here. So it's not perfect. Still cool. It does have, I'm trying to see here, that is the red ink from the seal. That's what's transferred on this side. You can see that right there. So that could be a wetting transfer. Then it's got a little bit of red here. If I flip it over on this side, once again, red here. So very well could be a wetting transfer. More than likely, this note was on top of another note and they both got wet because the grade on this isn't that high. What is cool, though, is when you look real close, I can't zoom in too close because it'll go blurry, but this word public right here, and you can compare it directly to this word public underneath. The bottom public is definitely P-U-B-L-I-C, but that top public, I don't know how close I can get it without it blurring, it looks like that might be the public error. It looks like the U in public is broken. Now, I actually zoomed way in on this note just to see, and it turns out that it's not completely broken, but you can compare the two and see that this one is entirely there and this one is partially there. So it's somewhere in between the public error and the not public error. They call it that because it instead of seeing P-U-B, it looks more like P-C-B. So it's not really an error, it's more of a variation. Most people never look at it. I want to say that the public error is the less common, but there are enough of them to go around so that it's not worth anything more. But still, people like to get both the error and corrected versions. And I'm pretty sure this one counts as the error. So that one is number 7. Number 6, I was just fascinated by this bill here. 1928, a Federal Reserve from Boston. 1928 was the first of the small-sized notes. You can see this one here is graded 35, very choice fine. And when you look at it, it's pretty stunning. It's very bright. It doesn't look like there's any creases or anything in it at all. But as you get a little closer, you'll see that there is a waviness to the top, and it's very hard to see in this case, but there is a rather light crease over here. Very tough to see, but it is there. I'm just trying to see if there's a way to, but yeah, so it did have a fine crease over here. Or was it over here? No, I think it was over here. Anyway, yeah, it's not going to stand out with the light coming through that way. This way, maybe? Yeah, it's really tough to see. But that's just another thing. Once these notes are encapsulated, you can't necessarily see everything that's there. That's why you do kind of have to rely on the grade that it was given, because sometimes it can be so difficult to try to spot what it was that knocked down this particular note. Taking a look at the back, and the note is very clean. So this one has great eye appeal. The problem is the grade. It, like I said, did have the minor crease in it. Anyway, this particular note, 1934A, always strikes me because of how dark the figure of Lincoln is and the background is. I mean, it's so dark, it almost looks blurred together. It almost looks like it's overprinted. But they're calling it, they don't say that it's an overprint or anything like that. I have the feeling that whoever sent this in for grading was expecting a much higher number. But like I said, that little bit of line there, that's probably what did it. Yeah, so that one is number 6. Number 5. Number 5 is another $5 note. This particular one, though, as you can see, is from 1934C, and it's a star note. Now, it's always cool to see the older stars because the stars themselves were so much bigger, and they were all filled in. I'm a huge fan of the 34 series because they use that blue numeral there. So not only do you get the blue seal on the silver certificate, you get the blue numeral, and then of course all this is done in blue as well. And when we take a look at the back, it is constitutional. That's a good thing. Now, some of the stars can be worth quite a bit. This one, not so much. This particular one, in this grade, you're talking $30 to $75 on this particular star. Still a very cool note to have. So that's probably, I don't know if it's gonna, I'll have to see if I've got one. This one might be up for sale. It might end up in my collection. We shall see. That one is number 5. Number 4. Number 4 is a group of notes. These are Philippine pesos. Philippines, 1 peso, but this is the Victory series. Okay, it says right here, Victory, series number 66. That's what you're looking for the Victory series. The Philippines were invaded by Japan. Japan was ruling them for most of World War II. And then when the Philippines took back over their islands, that's when they produced the Victory series. You can tell that because not only does it say Victory on the back, but you can see it on the front there, Victory series number 66. So these are really cool. You have the $1, the 1 peso, the 2 peso, and it's neat that they use different colors like that to differentiate the notes. The 5 peso, bright gold on that one. I'm actually going to flip these this way. You get this orange, you get this blue, you get this yellow. Here is the 10 peso. And there's Washington. How about that? That's a cool image of Washington on there. And that's got a brown look to it. And then I've got the 20 peso. More of a tan look. And the 50 peso. Once again, still part of the Victory series, and on the back you can see it does say Victory, and that one would be in red. There's the backs of all the Victory series notes. I just want to take a quick peek at something here. I know that all the backs are set up this way now, so you can read Victory. I just wanted to make sure that all the fronts are the same way. Yep, okay, so I don't have any inverted prints. But yeah, those are really cool, seeing the colorful backs on those. Now, I had the 1, the 2, the 5. I don't know if I had the 10 or not. I don't think so. I'd remember that. The only ones that are missing from this set are the 100 and the 500, and that would complete this particular set. So that is great to see. I will probably be hunting down those 2, and I can probably sell the ones that I had already. So these will be upgrades to mine. That is number 4. Number 3, another cool star note. 1934 Federal Reserve note. This is a $10 star note, known as the wide versus the narrow, and I struggle with this one. I struggle figuring out the wide versus the narrow. This one's the wide, and I want to say it has something to do here, but I'm not even 100%. I've seen pictures of wide versus narrow side by side, and it's not helping me any. But because it was graded, I know this is the wide one. 1934C Federal Reserve from New York, and it's a star note. Once again, you can see the bright green big stars. Yes, they are filled, and yes, they were all filled at the time. And it's a 007 for whatever that's worth. It's always neat seeing 007 and stuff like that. This particular note grades out at a 66 EPQ, gem uncirculated. Got the EPQ exceptional paper quality on the back there. You can see it's in really nice shape. If you look, you can kind of see how thin the top is compared to how thick the bottom is. So this one is slightly off center, but whenever you're talking notes that are 60 and above, what differentiates everything is the centering. If the note is perfectly centered, that's a good thing. If the note is slightly off, and this one here on the front looks to be about right, it's just this side here that seems to be slightly off. But yeah, if a note is slightly off, that negatively affects the grade. So whenever you see people saying, oh, this note's cut wrong, that's an error, no. It's not an error on the cut unless you can see a portion of the other note. If you can see the portion of the next note, then that would be an error. This is simply just a little narrower on the top than it is on the bottom, and because of that, they only gave it a 66 rather than a 68 or a 70, whatever else they could have. This particular note is a fairly tough note to get. These run about, in a grade 63, these run about $250. This one's a 66. So you do the math on that one and figure out what it's actually worth if a 63 goes for 250 bucks. Anyway, that is number 3. Number 2 and number 1 are pretty amazing. Number 2, this is the 1935A Experimental Silver Certificate, the S note. This note is graded 64 choice uncirculated EPQ. Great, great, great note. Where to start with this note? All right. 1935A, they did an experiment, and they wanted to change the coding that's on the notes. So what they did was they printed roughly 1 million notes, and they put a special coating on them. The notes with the special coating, they stamped with an S. And then they put them in circulation, and they would pull them back and compare how they wore to other notes to see if the coating did any good. The problem is when you put a bright red S on there, people notice, and everybody thought these were going to be special. I mean, they are special. That's the S note, and a lot of people saved them. In fact, so many people saved these notes that even though there were 1 million printed, not enough were returned for the experiment to actually take place, so the whole thing got scrapped. But the S notes are the ones that everybody wanted because everybody knew those were special. Here's the back of this one. But yeah, 64 is the grade on this one, and once again, the biggest portion of this, the reasoning for the 64 that I see, is how off-centered the back is. The front looks centered. The back being off-center means that it was actually slightly printed wrong. So yeah, it's not going to get a 70 if it's printed wrong. 70 would be a perfect note. Anyway, 35A S note. This particular one can get upwards in this grade anywhere from $500 to $650 without a problem. That is number 2. And number 1 this week. Well, if I had the S note, I have to have the R note. Most of you are probably wondering why the R note would be number 1. Well, the reason there is everybody saved the S note. Okay, the S note had the special coating. The R note, that was the regular note. And people weren't as enthused about the R note. Everybody wanted the S note. Because of that, there are more S notes that had survived compared to R notes. And whenever there's fewer of something, well, that'll start driving up demand. Or I should say when the demand's there and there's few of these around, the price goes up. These can be $800, $900 in this condition. You can see this one here grades a 64 EPQ, and once again, you can see on the front how wide the top is and how narrow the bottom is. That's why it got knocked a grade. That's why it's down to a 64. So once again, that off cut, that hurt the value of this note. I can't say that enough because people love to say that notes that are off cut are worth more. They are not. They're worth less. Once again, you need to see the next note on the sheet for it to be considered a cutting error. But anyway, that's the R note and the S note, both halves of that particular experiment. These are definitely going into my collection. I have an R note, I have an S note, and those will be going up for auction, probably in my Christmas auction, because these are most certainly better than the ones that I have, so these are going to be staying in my collection. All right, if you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading all your comments. Guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.